I'm really anxious to do this because this is what I spent a large majority of my time working on at headquarters. So my name is Joe Weglin. I'm a 2011 initiate of the Alpha Phi chapter at Iowa State University. Graduated with a degree in finance. Came out of the staff shortly thereafter. Was a consultant for kind of a short period of time, 6 months. And I didn't get to visit you guys for a few chapters in here, and I was your consultant. But in January 2012, became the director of expansion. And I've been serving in that role ever since. And that means that I oversee our like colonization, so the inception of our new groups up to the point of chartering. So I work a lot with university administration. I also train all of our consultants on how to recruit, use our proprietary recruitment process for expansion. I oversee colony development and then also the chartering as well, which there's a few men in the room who have actually gotten to do that with, so that's really exciting. So like I said, part of my job is to train our consultants on how to recruit. And the process that we use is the interview process. But before we get to that, I want to ask you guys a couple questions. Number one, who's been into one of the recruitment sessions thus far during the weekend? Everybody. Okay. So tell me some of the things that you've learned, that you've taken away, that you think are really valuable, that you should be taking home and implementing. Yeah.
Those 5 external factors of how people view fraternities and their success, things like the size, appearance.
Yeah, 5 external criteria. Absolutely, that's awesome. Anybody else? I'm not quizzing you, just seriously.
Look sharp and be friendly.
Absolutely. Look impressive. Always be cordial, friendly, congenial. Yep.
Always have that unique selling point.
Yeah, absolutely. Know what your USPs are, unique selling points about your specific organization and the fraternity as a whole.
The self-assessment.
Absolutely. Self-assessment is really valuable. Anybody else? Yeah, get more people than just the recruitment chairman involved. It's definitely a group effort, for sure. Anybody else? Anybody from this side of the room?
Planning is key. Planning is key. You need a chair to always do.
All right. Plan, be organized. If someone sees something that's disorganized and they come to an event, they're probably not going to be apt to join. They want it to feel legitimate. They want to feel comfortable.
Quality and quantity are not mutually exclusive.
You're right. Quantity drives quality. So, anybody heard that yet? Awesome. Cool. All right. Anybody else? We recruit the most of the best men. Absolutely. That's an expectation of the Pike. Anything else?
Oh, the friends thing. Like the quote about the Rushy will go to fraternity where that he thinks is best and has the most friends in.
Yes. A man will join the fraternity where he feels he has the most friends. Absolutely. That is 100% true without question. All right. Anything else?
I don't need to be a hard time, but I almost kind of disagree with that. Tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like if I were to go to Forest State and there were 2 other brothers, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to be a brother with any of these guys. If there's 2 other guys, there's no possible way. No possible way I could be as close to them as I am with Absalom. We're so close. There's 8 of us. It's a very small, a lot smaller number. You get around with guys, you get to know each other more. You actually become brothers. You're faithful and true with each other. I feel like with too many people, like how can we actually, quantity actually drive quality.
Cool. So that's a great conversation to have. That's not what we're in this room to talk about. But trust me.
That's what they were saying. That's why.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with you. And I'm not going to ask you to have a tournament chat because I don't even know what school you go to. You go to East Carolina. Okay, so you're not going to have a tournament chat for East Carolina. But we can talk about that offline if you want to, and then just there. But absolutely. Yep, it's cool. Anybody else? Any other takeaways from the recruitment sessions thus far? All right, I want to touch back on a point that was made over here, and that's that we as Pikes recruit the most of the best men on campus. So raise your hand if your chapter wants the best men on campus in your organization. All right. Define to me what those best men on your campus are. Okay, slag. Well, let's be a little more specific. You know, what are some more specific characteristics about him?
Be involved with it.
Involved leader on campus, somebody like a student body president.
Athletes on both ends of their varsity.
Awesome. Prominent athlete.
Guys that come here.
All right, really just fun, great personality people.
Good looking dudes.
Good looking bros. I like it. Okay, absolutely. One more.
Not such a horrible GPA.
Great student. He's not in school to screw around. Scholars, yeah, absolutely. Those are all great points. So take that man, and you put him right here. And every fraternity on the campus is trying to get the best guys, right? You agree with me? All right, cool. So you're going to be in competition for that man. So what are you going to do to outperform the other organizations?
Rush parties.
You could have rush parties, but I'm just going to tell you right now, there's pretty low likelihood that your rush parties are that much better than anybody else's.
We start early. Yeah, don't wait till rush week starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Get after it early.
Yeah, then start early, but really push the friendship aspect too. It's different if they become your friend, then you don't even have to really sit there and like convince them. There could be like a couple of points in the fight.
Yeah,
I think becoming friends is the most important thing, but frequent contact as well.
absolutely.
Being the first guy there.
Always communicating. It's a really strong thing.
That's one thing they can do by phone, definitely do like text messages, like provide someone accounts, so if you like call them or you don't meet them in person and they can't send them.
That's a really important point. We'll get back to that here in a second.
Express the values of like
Yeah, and if you know what our organization is, be knowledgeable as you can articulate that. The last one.
With the frequent contact, whenever you meet with him, bring somebody else, somebody new, you can meet another brother,
Okay.
stay in contact with him.
Awesome. Absolutely. So a gentleman that we're describing here is obviously a very impressive individual, and he takes the decisions that he makes about his life really seriously. So what do you think we need to do to try to persuade him? Well, we need to recruit him in a very impressive way. And this interview process is what I'm talking about. And it's not so much an interview process as a meeting process. And this is what we use when we go on expansions. Anybody experience an expansion on their campus or heard about a Pike expansion anywhere? All right, cool. So we've done this 12, 13 times actually in the last 2 years. And when we go to a campus, we go for about 5 weeks and we recruit with 2 consultants, 2 of our professional consultants. And during that 5 weeks, we recruit on average 82 men. And we just set a new record this past spring, recruited 204 men at Arizona State University. Yeah, so it's pretty awesome. So this process really works. This is the bread and butter. We've been doing the interview process for the past 20 years. We have tweaked other parts of our process. This is the bread and the butter, and it works so well. We're going to talk about, number one, the fundamental of it, why it works, and then we're also going to talk about the mechanics and how to actually implement this on your campus. So, and I want this to be a conversation too, so blurt out a question. Don't feel like you have to raise your hand. Really want to make this a conversation. And we might be running a little low on time, but we'll get through this, I promise. There's 4 steps to it. The first one is name generation. We can call it referral generation for recommendations about potential members. And this process is also outlined in your recruitment manual, which you should all have a copy of as well. The second step is the cold call, or as you'll kind of get to know, I like to call it a warm call. And we'll talk about the difference between a cold call and a warm call here in a bit. Interview 1, and then interview 2 is the last part of this 4-step process. It's very simple. 4 simple steps. Get recommendations, call them up, talk to them once, talk to them again. Referral generation. Who knows what a referral or we can say a recommendation? What is that? What does it mean?
Somebody who, say, sorry, girl gives your name to the guy.
Okay? All right.
prominent aspect, like a prominent person that you know is maybe able to join.
Okay. So a referral recommendation is someone who directs another person in a certain direction so that they can take further action towards down that line. So why would we want to go after referrals? Because a lot of you gentlemen probably get a list that your university gives out of incoming freshmen, or the dean's list comes out. You might have contact information from the guys in the dean's list that you want to go after. Why do we want to get a recommendation or a referral? Why is that better than the list?
People actually know that.
Yeah, people actually know that. That's 100% correct.
When you're recommended by, or when you're the person being recommended, then, or being referred, then the person that, if you have a contact with somebody, it just doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere. It's like, oh, we heard through your friend Sabrina that you wanted to be, that like, you might be interested in this, and she's like backed you up and stuff like that. So it makes, that automatically makes them feel good about somebody that they know and establishes a connection that they feel good about.
Exactly. Sabrina the Teenage Witch said you'd be an awesome person to go to fight. So you're absolutely right. And these are the statistics. Anybody familiar with Gallup, the polling services, the agency? All right, so Gallup, the leader in poll and agency servicing, they did a poll on this, and what the study showed was that you are 50% more likely to close on a client in a sale. And let's all be honest with ourselves. At the end of the day, recruitment is a sale. You're convincing someone to do something which actually ends up in a financial transaction. It's a sale at the core of it. You're 50% more likely to close on a client if they've been recommended, if they are a warm sales call or touch. And the difference between warm and cold is warm, there is a connection. They have been referred or recommended. Cold is we have their name on a list and we call them up. I found them on the internet, Facebook, I don't know, whatever. Okay, that's the difference. Warm, you have a connection. Cold, you absolutely do not. You are 50% more likely to close on that client. How much more powerful is that? Don't you feel like you're wasting your time now calling random people? And I'm not discouraging you from doing that, because if that's what you do and it works for you, absolutely go for it. But that's the power of a recommendation or a referral. And the reason is because there's one thing, one large roadblock that stops someone from buying something or making a decision to join something. Anybody have any idea what that is? It's trust. It's trust. So Susie Q trusts you. She's in Kappa Delta. You know, she knows me. I really trust Joe. He's a really good guy. I sure hope that's true. But Susie Q, she really trusts me. Now, Susie Q knows John Smith. And I think John Smith would be a great fight. Susie Q recommends him to me anyways. Okay, so she gives me a contact information and says that this guy would be great for your organization. That's fantastic. I call up John Smith. I say, hey, John Smith, you know, I got your recommendation from Susie Q and Kappa Delta. Do you know her? Yeah, I do know her. She's pretty awesome. She's cute. Yeah, I think so too. She's cute. So the thing is that John Smith trusts Susie Q. Susie Q trusts me. John Smith is now way more likely to trust me too. So we've just broken down immediately from there the largest barrier to someone joining or making a decision to join an organization. Does that make sense? That is so powerful you can't even put it into words. So these referrals, where can we get them? How do we get them? And I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to Josh Murphy here to talk a little bit about that. He's the current calling consultant, and he's done a couple of these expansions that I was talking about. So go for it, Josh.
Hey guys, my name is Josh Murphy. As Joe said, I did 2 expansion projects last year, so I'm very familiar with this and very comfortable with it. So the expansion projects that I conducted were at Northwestern State University in Louisiana and Cornell University in New York. So I'm a 2007 initiated of the Epsilon Theta chapter at Colorado State University and the refounding president of the Gamma Delta chapter at the University of Arizona. So where do you find these referrals? How do you go out and get these guys? Who has an idea? Where would you look? Sororities. Administration, teachers. How's yours? Where else? Alumni. Clubs and sports. You're pretty much hitting your target market there. If we're looking for men that are going to be scholars, leaders, athletes, and gentlemen, we need to hit faculty, staff, administration, hit our campus, clubs, organizations on campus where the leaders are found. We're going to hit the sports coaches, so varsity club, they're going to play some intramurals, so we're going to get the athletes. And last, the sororities, that's where we're going to find the gentlemen. So that's how you find your target market. So where do you go from there? What else? Think outside the box. High schools. Okay, what else?
Last semester, me and one of my friends went to a transfer social for transfer students, and we picked up 2 kids that Russia.
Okay, great.
I'd say maybe like
like brothers in your fraternity, like if they have like little brothers come to your school.
I guess to jump in too, you're talking to these key campus leaders, faculty, staff, varsity coaches. You're going to say, we're looking for recommendations for our fraternity. And you're probably thinking to yourself, they're never going to give us a recommendation when we go in and just ask them to join, guys that join a fraternity that are their best students, if they're the dean of students or a faculty member. Well, the key in it is to making sure you can paint the picture of what you're trying to do and how it can help them. We're trying to create the ideal fraternity on this campus. Engage, positive community members. And they represent 4 letters. It's an acronym called SLAG. And you need to be able to articulate SLAG perfectly to really build this up. And you paint this picture of what you're trying to create, and you ask this key campus leader, the sorority woman, we need your help. And we need the recommendation that you can give us, because we know you know these really great men that we can fill our organization with. Scholars, leaders, athletes, and general. Please help us out. They're going to be way more apt to help you out when you can really articulate what you're trying to do. And you need to be able to, like I mentioned, you need to be able to articulate SLAG. At any point in time, any day of the week, doesn't matter. You need to be able to roll it off the tip of your tongue like nothing. Like I'm going to do to Josh right now, and you have no idea how to do this. Josh, what are you looking for?
Joe, I'm looking for scholars, leaders, athletes, and gentlemen. Scholars, we want the men that are going to take their academics as their highest priority. After all, we're here to get a degree. Leaders, we want the men that are going to not only step up and take a leadership role in our fraternity, but be leaders in our campus and our community. Athletes, we want men that are varsity, club, and intramural athletes. But more importantly than that, we want men that are competitive. Because the men that are competitive in the classroom are going to be competitive in the job market, which is going to lead to the best doctors, lawyers, businessmen that they can be. Lastly, gentlemen. You might be a scholar, a leader, an athlete, but if you're not a gentleman, there's no room in Pi Kappa Alpha for you. We want the individual that's going to treat this campus and this community with respect and dignity that it deserves.
Thanks, Josh. If you can do that, bravo! And if you can do that, that is so powerful when it comes to. Got a question?
Yeah, I do. Is there somewhere we can get a little extra for that so we
Yeah,
can memorize that and start
seriously.
pushing it?
Absolutely.
We have resources for you. I'll give you my card after, and I'm more than happy to send it out.
All right.
And it is in the recruitment manual as well, too. So, all right. If you can do that, you are going to be the stud recruitment chairman on your campus. If you can truly articulate things like that, you need to practice these things. We're going to move on to the process. We're running a little short on time. So now you have these referrals. You got these recommendations. Just these studs on campus. You are primed and ready to fill your organization with the absolute best men your chapter's ever seen. All right? Where do we go from here? You have the recommendations. Go up to them. Sorry?
Go up.
I can't hear you.
Go up to them. Find them.
Find them. Got to contact them, right? So what we're going to do is called the cold call. I prefer to call it the warm call, though, because if they're a recommendation, it's not a guy off of a random list. Okay? So it's a cold call. So I got a question for you. What is the purpose? And this is a big philosophical thing of mine. I want everyone to understand the purpose and the rootedness of the things that we do, so you understand the why, so you'll be much better at actually doing it. So why are we making the cold call?
Schedule a meeting.
Schedule a meeting. You got it. That's awesome. You got the first one. That's the first one that's ever happened. You want to get him to an interview, or meeting as you call it. You want to call them mediums to the recruits as well. It's a little less intimidating than come in for an interview or an interview. Join the organization. So there you go. So let's run through the cold call real quick. First off, greetings and introduction. Hi, John Smith. My name is Joe Wade. I'm with Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity. All right. Your name got recommended to us by Susie Q at Kappa Delta. Do you know Susie? Yeah, I do. All right. Things you got to make sure you let him know who referred him. That's immediately going to keep him on the phone. All right. He's caught. All right. So you know someone I know. She gave me my phone number. There's a reason behind this conversation. We're not just going to hang up. That is key in this. The next step is let him know you want to get his take on the fraternity and sorority community. You're not looking to recruit him. He cannot think that you're trying to recruit him. He might think that, or he might, they might be trying to recruit you. No, you're simply trying to get his take on the fraternity and sorority community, the university, and maybe even the town. This guy's probably a great campus leader. He's probably engaged in the community, so he's already a stakeholder. And if you tell him, we're really trying to take our chapter, our fraternity, and the community in a great direction, Susie said that you're already engaged in the community, and you would be a great person to give us some insight on what's going on from a non-Greek perspective. Do you have 5 to 10 minutes to come in and talk with us sometime on campus this week? If he truly is a campus leader and he's a quality man like Suzuki says he is, he's going to come and he's going to spend 5 to 10 minutes with you because he cares about the school. He cares about the fraternity sorority community too. So you set up the meeting. Some tips. Keep it short, 1 to 3 minutes. You don't need to dwell on the call at all. Again, you're not trying to recruit him, simply just trying to get him into the room. What's the purpose of the cold call? What's the purpose of the cold call? Get him to the interview. As soon as you get that, you get the time set up, call's over. Let's do it. You get the answer you want, hang the phone. Remember to say who referred him. You cannot forget to do that. And use phrases like, that's right, is that correct? You know, Susie Q recommended us. Do you know Susie? Is that right? Yeah, I do. You're getting him engaged and him interacting in the conversation instead of it being one-sided. Questions are powerful. And then if there's any other interested in joining a fraternity, make sure you reiterate, we're not even recruiting right now. That might be a little white lie, but it's not going to hurt anybody. We're not even recruiting right now. We're really just trying to get people's take on the fraternity sorority community so we can really make this thing as positive as it possibly can be on campus. All right. Next step. You got them. They're coming into interview 1. I have another question for you. What's the purpose of interview 1?
Actually, we go back to that. Or, actually, is there any way that we can get this?
Yeah. There's actually really extensive scripts. I'm doing real broad level stuff here. There's really extensive scripts in the recruitment manual, the PICAP Alpha recruitment manual. So, and you know, we can follow up with emails and links and everything as well.
This manual?
Is that one you're holding? Oh, is that the, which one is that? What's the next title?
No, it's the one online.
Yeah, this is the one. It's one that says confidential on it. What's the purpose of interview 1?
To basically make friends with him, get to know him a little better, so he has a reason to come back.
Absolutely. Any other reason?
Get him to talk about himself.
Absolutely. It's even more simple than those, though.
Set up meeting number 2.
Boom. Set up meeting number 2. The one purpose of interview 1, at the end of the day, is to get him to do one thing. You're going to get him to come back to the second interview. How simple is that? We're just going to try to get this guy to come back and talk to us one more time. That's not that difficult. So, there you go. It's a cute picture. It's the only picture in the whole presentation, so get excited. All right. So, the script of it. Number 1, he's going to come in. You're going to have small talk. You're going to get to know him. That is very, very important. It's one of the most important parts of it. Again, the most important part is getting him to come back. But part of that, getting to know him, small talk, feeling connected. And we're going to talk a little bit more about getting to know as much information about him is incredibly powerful. Yeah.
Question: we have like an interview at the end of Rush. Where would you what time frame would you say you have like your first interview before Rush? Or
So you're talking about like a formal recruitment week?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that at the end, and we might even, if we run out of time, we can talk about it afterwards too. So we'll talk about how you can use this in different recruitment systems. So you want to get to know him, as much information as possible. You did ask him to come in and get his perspective on the Greek community and the campus. You have to make sure you ask that. You have to live up to that and be sincere. Because actually, it turns out that that's really powerful too. What's your current perspective on the Greek community? Like we said, we're really trying to get your take on it so that we can make our organization as good as possible. What do you currently think of the organization on campus? He might say they're great. That's awesome. Fraternities are awesome. He might say they're awful. Yeah, you know, we understand the perception of them might be that they could be better, and you know what? They probably could be better. Third one, have him tell you what his ideal fraternity/student organization is. Anybody understand what's going on right here? He's telling you exactly what he wants. Exactly what he wants. It's candy from a baby. So he's going to tell you what his ideal fraternity looks like. You're going to paint him the picture of where your chapter is today, and I implore you to be honest. If your chapter is not where you want it to be, tell him that. But then you're also going to paint him the picture of where you're taking it. This is where we are today. This is where we're going. We're really excited, and again, that's why we're getting your perspective right now, so that we can make sure we're going in the right direction. And then you tell him how you're going to do it. We're going to fill the organization with scholars, leaders, athletes, and gentlemen. And if you can succinctly and articulately tell him that, he's going to immediately think of, wow, they're describing me, and that sounds like an awesome thing that they're doing. They should be looking at me. They should be recruiting me. Why are they not recruiting me right now? But you haven't said one thing about him joining. Yeah.
What if the person you're interviewing or would be interviewing would rather get his perception of the fraternity of Greek life over the phone, how would you change that into let's meet face to face?
Yeah, face to face. Yeah, you know what? We'd really prefer to do that, you know, kind of one-on-one with you, so we can get a better take. We have some more questions as well. So 5 to 10 minutes. Again, you know, it's getting late in the evening right now, so if we could just, you know, meet up in 3 days when it's ever convenient for you too, we'd love to do that. Yep.
Speaking of Slack, I know we do this for the Southern End. Between the paint picture of the fraternity and then Slack, we typically ask the guys, like, if you had to choose scholar leader, athlete, general, which one would you pick and why? That gives them a good, and then they'll talk about which one they feel like associate with, and you can go in depth about how at your chapter can demonstrate that. We feel like that's increased our numbers a lot the past couple of years we've been doing that. So.
Yeah, great. I think that's a nice way that you guys put on it. Only recommendation with that is be careful how salesy you get with the conversation. Because again, you're towing the line between telling them about, you know, this is awesome, we're doing some great things over here, and we want you to be a part of it. It's like a tightrope walk. So that's cool for you guys done. All right. Ask them if you have any questions. If you have any questions what we talked about, we really appreciate your insight. Show them some marketing pieces. You have a brochure or something that your chapter has. Hey, here's some more information about our organization. Let you take it home. Read into it a little bit more. Maybe you give them a shield and diamond you bought off Pikes.org or something that you got delivered to your chapter. And then you set up interview 2. You say, hey, so we got a lot of great information from you. If you wouldn't mind, maybe think about it a little bit more, and we'd like to maybe even have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation about how we can really point ourselves in the right direction. We all have to run off to class. We probably went over the time limit that we set for this meeting. We have 5 to 10 more minutes, maybe in 2 days, same time, same place. Probably going to say yes. All right, so you set up interview 2 at that point. You have anything to add?
I was just saying, yeah, stress that you were on their time, so you're really, really happy that they were able to meet you. You got a lot of great information to them, and then you would love to follow up with them. It's easy to get them to say yes by saying, hey, if it's Tuesday at 3 p.m., hey, do the same schedule on Thursday. Let's just set up 3 p.m. again. We really want to bounce a few more ideas off you. That really help us out with what we're doing.
So some tip. Oh, never mind. We're not going to have tips for interview 1. Question for interview 2. What's the purpose? To recruit them, all right. More specifically?
To sell them on Pike.
You're to start to sell them more on Pike, absolutely. At the end of interview 2, what occurs? He signs a bid, you close him. The point of interview 2 is to close him. If you want him to join, he's not walking out of the door without signing that big card. So, ABC, always be closing. Number 1, small talk. Recap about what he did. You took a specific interest in his life in the first interview. You follow back up with that. Show them that you remember. That is so powerful. Reconnect with him. If you had a test in between the 2 interviews or meetings, ask him how the test went. How was that math test? Oh, it was all right. Yeah, I'm sure. Calculus, not fun. I understand. Whatever. Overview of the meeting. Talk about what you're going to cover this meeting. These are the things you're going to cover. So we're going to talk about Pi Kappa Alpha on an international level. We're going to talk about what it operates like here locally. And then just kind of what some of the commitments we have for our members financially and as far as time is concerned. And then you actually dig into those. So in the script that's in the recruitment manual, they have the information about what Pi Kappa Alpha looks like at an international level. So what does Pike look like internationally, Josh?
Pi Kappa Alpha is a Greek letter international fraternity. We have over 268,000 lifetime initiates, over 225 active chapters and colonies. You might focus on some of the chapters in the area that are prominent. You also talk about some of the famous prominent Pikes, some of the fun things to talk about what Pi Kappa Alpha is all about. Maybe you talk about the average chapter size is the largest in the nation. Hit the fun facts. Definitely leave it with the prominent Pikes at the end, because that's something that's going to be fun to talk about. It's going to get them smiling. And you'll be able to identify here with, if they said they were an athlete, you talk about Steve Prefontaine, Kyle Orton. If they say that they're into country music, you say Tim McGraw. So that's where you really have to listen to them and cater to them the information they're going to want to know about Pi Kappa Alpha.
So you're going to talk about the operations of the fraternity. This is where you talk about the leadership opportunities. You go through the organizational flow chart. It's outlined in the recruitment manual again a little more in depth. As the flow chart, you talk about the president who's the CEO, treasurer is the CFO, walks through some of the chairs. Talk about how this is a silver platter of a college experience. We're not here to hinder your experience. We're here only to enhance it. You might be busy studying on a Thursday night, but if you have time and there's a social already set up for you and ready to go, are you not going to go and hang out with the Tri-Deltas? Of course you are. All right. Other things. A lot of you guys, who's lived on a dorm floor? Who's tried to play on a dorm floor intramural team? All right. How big of a nightmare is that?
It sucks.
It's just awful. Like, no one knows who's collecting the money. No, it's not organized at all. And playing on the intramural teams is a lot better because they're already set up for you. They already paid for it all up front with the fraternity dues. It's all taken care of. How easy is it just to sign up for the flag football team, show up with your pipe penny and play? All right. These are the selling points, and you can very easily and very smoothly explain what your organization operates like without even trying to recruit yet. So before we get to the time commitment and the financial commitment, a really important thing is to watch what verbs he's using. Write this down. Watch the verbs he's using. If he includes himself in the conversation, you immediately know that you have him very interested. So you're saying that, I would be on the football team and I could be the quarterback, or I would go to the socials. As soon as he starts using himself in the sentence and in the discussion, he is extremely, extremely interested. And at that point, you turn your switch over and you start to use him in the conversation as well. Absolutely. You could do this. You could do that. As a group and you could all do this. And then he starts to get bought in anymore. You're reeling him in. Fist over fist, right? So you get to the time commitment, you talk about what the time commitment is for your organization. 1 hour, one meeting. Outside of that, you might have some other commitments as well for minor community service, philanthropy, that kind of stuff. Financial commitment, talk about what your dues are. Talk about how you're flexible as well too. Extend the bid, you close it. And this is the most difficult part to do. But up to this point, you really warmed him up. You have greased the wheels. And you extend the bid to him. Yeah.
So when do you really, okay, let's say theoretically, because through interview 1, it's more of like a, hey, can I get your feedback and bring community kind of thing, and see your perspective on it. At what point do we really break off from the, hey, you know what, we want to get your perspective to, you might fit our perspective, because there really does have to be a breaking point at some time to just, hey, I'm just trying to collect information for our benefit to, we're trying to collect.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I didn't touch on in the first interview that I skipped over was, after you describe slag, you also ask him where he thinks you might be able to find men like that. That's important. That's another piece where you're getting him involved in the conversation. And then it's really, as you're going through here, when he starts to use himself in the conversation, you start to relate it back to him. Absolutely. A guy like you who's was an all-state football player, I don't think anybody's going to complain if you're on the flag football team and you win the championship. You subtly do it throughout the conversation.
So we're not allowed to bid guys until the last day of formal recruitment. But what I'm doing is 3 days before formal recruitment, I'm taking all the guys I know I want to a steakhouse and buying dinner and stuff. So is there a way I can say, okay, give me a verbal commitment, or what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, so we'll talk about specific recruitment structures and policies for universities here right at the end. We'll definitely talk about it. If we don't have time, I'll stay after. So when you get to the point where you extend the bid, this is where you relate it back to him. So, what time is it? 5 minutes. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to explain, again, we really appreciate you coming in and giving us your feedback. And say Josh and I are already leaving. Josh and I were talking before we even met up again. We were thinking, man, you're Pike. You're a scholar. You're on the dean's list. You're a leader. You're the president of the finance club. You're an athlete. Geez, you were an all-state football player. You were a middle linebacker. And you're a gentleman. You got recognized by 5 stories. You're a Pike. Because of that, we're going to do that. We're going to extend this bid to you. We'd like you to become a member of our organization. So that's a really vanilla way to do it because I'm not exactly knowing how to sell him right now. But you build it up. You tell him that he's exactly what you're looking for. And then he signs the bid. He's also going to maybe give you some no factors. And that's why, as we go into the tips here, you need to do a few things. And this third point is incredibly important. Get to know him. You know as much about him as possible. Knowledge is ammunition. The more knowledge you have about him, the more tailor fit you can make your responses to his no factors. That is absolutely key here. You can tailor fit your message to exactly what he's looking for if you really want to do it. You want to be in a nice room? Don't do this on the couch at your college apartment where there's SpaghettiOs on the ground. You want this to be very impressive. He's an impressive person. You're going to do this in an impressive setting and an impressive manner. Practice. Don't walk into this without having done it before. If you walk into this just winging it with a script in front of you, it's just going to blow up in your face. Role play a couple of times. Get a feel for it. Know what the overall structure is, and then just let your natural conversation abilities take it from there. You're going to be good at it if you know what the overall structure is. So those are my big points there. Josh, you have any tips you have as well?
I would just reiterate the get to know him part. That's why the small talk is so important in both interviews. If you're able to small talk and get to know everything about him, when you go to close that bid, you're able to have all those little nuggets of, you're a double major in molecular sciences, or you're gonna be able to have all that information. Don't be afraid to stroke the ego. You're only gonna be able to do that if you had a very extensive small talk with him to get to know him. So just to reiterate that being very, very important.
Well, are there any questions here? We have just a couple of minutes. Any questions at all about it? All right. What time does the game start? Yeah. Go for it.
When you first use a computer guide, or when you income instruction, sometimes if you get guys that are, they know if they're trying to really don't have to respect what's talking about information you can. Because if I ask a question, what's your really good for me, and some of them really know what they're talking about.
Yeah, again, and this perspective line really works well on the upperclassmen. You can craft it as freshmen. You're new on campus. You probably have a little bit of an idea of what you see in Greek life. We like to know what someone with fresh eyes in the community thinks about it. Also, you can really inject this into your current recruitment program. Say you have a formal recruitment period. Like I said, we talked about this. Say you have a formal recruitment process and you have a rush event at your house or some venue, you're out in the field or whatever. As the recruits are kind of mingling and getting to know all of the members, you have a team set up where they can pull the men aside kind of one-on-one, take them over into a corner and do a very casual interview one right there to really get to know him. Kind of do the main topics, and then later on at another event, you use interview 2 separately to actually close them. So you can incorporate it into your recruitment program that's going on right now. These things can happen while a recruitment event's going on. Pull them into a side room, kind of away from the main conversation and talk to them. You just kind of do it, you circulate, you know who you've talked to and who you haven't. So does that make sense? Okay. This program is exactly what our chapter 4 state uses actually during the formal recruitment period. My chapter happens to use this a little more rigidly throughout the entire school year. We utilize campus rooms and things like that. Yep.
Let's say the interviewee says, I got to think about joining. I got to think about signing the bid. Do you still go and go after him still, or what is your take on that?
Yeah. So depending on what the no factor is, when you continue to combat the no factors. Sometimes you'll get yourself into a pinch where he's got 19 no factors, and usually the rule of thumb is he's not going to tell you what the real no factor is until you get to the third one. You got to peel back the onion. He's going to bring up, it's this. Well, okay, actually, here's the deal. This is what it really is. I don't think I have the money. And then you have the real conversation about that. But if you just keep going on the no factors, maybe have him step back and think about it for a little while and come back. Or if one of his no factors says, this sounds really great. I haven't met a whole lot of the guys in the fraternity yet. I think I'd really just like to come to an event and meet him. Absolutely, that's understandable. Come to the event, see the brotherhood with your own eyes. Cool. I'm going to stay here afterwards just to answer questions one-on-one. And if you'd even like to walk through the interviews a little more thoroughly, I'll even stay here later. I think I'm going to skip the baseball game to do this if you're interested in it. If you're not interested in sticking around, make sure you go to the baseball game. It should be fun. So, thanks guys for coming. I hope you learned a lot.